Sisters and brothers, ladies and gentlemen, friends, neighbors, comrades, all citizens of the world, wherever you're going, wherever you've been, and wherever you're at, we welcome you to the Live from the Heartland show here on YouTube. New episodes air every Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time with individual interviews posted throughout the following week. I'm your host, Michael James, encouraging you to take the chain from the brain to get back in the people's game, because it's time to move from the lower level to the higher, from the shallower to the deeper, from the one-sided to the many, and from the abstract to the concrete. So without further ado, let's get it on. Okay, brothers and sisters, it's time for another edition of Live from the Heartland. This one is for the week of August 3rd, and we are recording it on Monday, July 29th. And, we're going to cover two topics that are my favorite topics, sports and politics. And our first guest will be our friend Gordon Thomson, a good friend of the show, a longtime contributor to Live from the Heartland. And Gordon has trained Olympic athletes. He's been a scholar, so to speak, of the Olympic movement. And I thought it would be appropriate to bring him right back on after just a couple of weeks rest to talk about the Olympics. But first, Gordon, I'd like to welcome you and ask you about your most recent trip to Montana.
Hello, Chicago. Hello, Michael. And it's always good to be on the Heartland Radio and WLUW and all those other radio stations that you got this on. And I had a great backpacking and hiking trip with my brother John in Glacier National Park. We did that after a resort wedding by my nephew, and we had a great time up in the mountains. Saw my first moose, saw just grazing in the bottom of a lake and enjoying a good lunch on the bottom of a lake. And we saw some bear scat, some fresh bear scat, a lot of flies in it, but no bears. So we did have a nice big deer waltzing through our camp one evening, just kind of as if they own the place. And they do. Yeah, they do. Wild nature. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, you're a longtime athlete, you were a pretty serious runner in your day, and then you coached a lot of people. And I remember watching you on the little track in the alumni gym whip off a mile in, a very short amount of time, running around this little 13 times around. But I know you've gotten older, and I'm wondering how, I knew you were trying to get in shape for your hiking in Montana. How did it go?
The hiking went great. So a little bit of swimming, a little bit of walking and running and jogging and some biking. And I was in shape enough to keep up with my brother, although he did put a couple extra miles on top of me. He's older than I am, but he's in better shape than I am.
Well, since I've known you, it's actually the first time I ever saw you. I was swimming in the old alumni pool gym in the water polo pool. And there was a woman in there who was training for the Atlanta Olympics for the marathon, I think. You could set me straight. But that's my connect to you around the Olympics. From the very get, you were about the Olympics. And I know you've been a student of the Olympics. You've got a lot of knowledge of the history. And I'm sure you've been watching the TV on various channels for the last few days. So what do you got to say about the Olympics today?
That young lady that I was coaching, that was the 84 Olympics. That's for LA, and she was preparing for the Olympic trials, not the Atlanta, which was 96. So we're a lot older than we're giving ourselves credit.
Well, I was trying to say 84.
Oh, yeah. And that young lady was Beth Farmer, and she was training for the marathon, getting ready for the Olympic trials. She didn't make the Olympic team. While training in Chicago, she stepped inside a wire hanger, and tripped and fell, broke her wrist. So it was kind of a bummer for her right before the Olympic trials to break her wrist. But hey, I was better coach than an athlete. I was an average athlete, but I like to think of myself as a above average coach of many universities and a couple of hot shots, and enjoyed my time coaching, now retired. Hey, did you enjoy those opening ceremonies?
I was blissed out. I turned it on, and I don't know how close to the beginning I was, but I was very much impressed with it. And usually those kind of things, I don't pay much attention to the opening of the Olympics, but this one really grabbed my attention. And I'll confess that I really got I got kind of emotional at various times, just feeling good about the world and about people putting on events that bring other people together, and the opportunity. The Olympic claims that it's people from different factions or countries can get along, and I don't know how much that's true. There's been a lot of rivalry and sneaky behavior around the Olympics, but I felt inspired about humanity. And I'm not the greatest John Lennon fan, but the Imagine tune got me. I liked it a lot. How about you?
I thought it was an excellent production of by the French to put entertainment and match entertainment with sport. I especially liked the mixing of the old traditional with the new guard, with the new wave, like that military band playing, and then suddenly they were jiving, juking and jiving with the new street rappers. And I thought the getting the old traditional with the new wave and a new mix of new energy of the youth of the world, that was excellent. And the production quality for the whole thing was fantastic. Even I enjoyed the Minion little brief thing of the little cartoon aspect with the man. I laughed my butt off on that little thing. I've never seen a Minion movie, but just the whole entertainment aspect of it, I thought was phenomenal. Now they're catching some heat with the French are with their production of it, but I thought, it's all artistry, so it's whatever you make of it.
Well, they're denying that it was the Last Supper, in that they gave other things. But the thing that I would have liked to have seen more of would be more time on the close-ups of the individual teams. I felt like they would give you a quick close-up and then they'd go away. And I think you made a critical comment to me while we were texting about the NBC announcers. What's your take on that?
Yeah, they were just they were terrible, to be quite honest. The NBC broadcast, their announcers, other than Mike Tirico, who was very factual and gave a lot of really good information, the two other color commentators of Peyton Manning and the lady, I'm sorry, I forget her name, they were just excess, and they just babbled and had no interest in whatever was going on. And I thought that was a real detraction from the production. However, the NBC has got to put some hot shots. I don't think Snoop Dogg is the hot shot that we need. How about putting past Olympians into that? Peyton Manning's never played in the Olympic Games, never has had anything to do with the Olympic Games, but he's one of our sports guys. So having him there, what Snoop Dogg has to do, other than he's a good musician and a good popular rapper, what he had to do with it was nothing but schlock. That was
how did that come to be? Because I first noticed that he was on the scene as an announcer during the Olympic trials up in
track and field Olympic trials. They had a little bogus race between him and one of the other announcers and that's just trying to get popular culture wrapped up into sports. It's all about money, just trying to get more people to view, and it's not working in my account. However, I liked the traditional interspersement of the old clips at the opening ceremonies, the old traditional clips of the older games, the stars of the past Olympic Games. And that was the emotional thing for me, of seeing little clips of Baby Bikila, my favorite Olympic star of all time, the Ethiopian that won the marathon in the 1964 Olympics barefoot. And the little clips of him running through the streets of Rome at night, to me, really got a ping at my heart. And seeing little clips of Mark Spitz and the other, it was really well done. That the French did a really good job of putting together an opening ceremonies. I could have done without the horse in the River Seine, the mechanical horse of.
Oh, you didn't like that?
Oh my God! It seemed like it took forever.
Well, it did. It went on and on, but it was pretty. I thought it was kind of cool. This horse galloping along the river.
Well, the cool thing was they did the horse gallop in correct mechanical sequence. That's exactly how a horse does run, is in that leg sequence. So they did it once again. The French did a fantastic job of getting the accuracy complete and correct. So nice job. Besides the opening ceremonies, I think this games is really important by a couple of returning athletes. One is Simone Biles and the other is Caleb Dressel. To me, these two athletes are mental health heroes. Both Simone Biles and Caleb Dressel had wanted to quit their sport, wanted to stop competing, wanted to stop doing the thing that gave them the most pleasure in life. Why? Because of the pressure associated with it, because of the pressure of having to perform with one point in time and space, and they had to be exactly on. They had to be exactly at their best at one point in time and in space. And that pressure is unfathomable, and only they can feel it, and only they can know how to deal with it. But both were dealing with mental health issues where they wanted to quit and they overcame it. And I think both Simone Biles now has got a little ankle injury, a tweak, a perfect escape out. She's not going to quit. She's going to be doing great at these Olympics. Caleb Dressel already has a gold medal. The U.S. won that 4x100 meter relay, and he's got two more chances to excel and come back. He wanted to quit swimming forever, and he's God's gift to sprinting in the pool. So having these two athletes back and returning and overcoming, I'm sure they're still dealing. It's not something like an injury, mental health stress is not like something that you can put your finger on, put a Band-Aid on. This is an ongoing and continual thing that they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their lives. So I think those two athletes deserve special recognition, not just because they're U.S., but because they've overcome the stress and stigma of mental health, which is really something phenomenal. Well, there's two athletes from the country of France that one did great, and the other did unbelievably poor. And it has to do with the amount of pressure that they're on when you're in the host country of an Olympic Games. The athlete that did great was Leon Marchand in swimming. He won the toughest event in swimming, which is the 400 individual medley. Butterfly stroke, breaststroke, backstroke, finalizing with the freestyle, butterback breast free. And he nailed it. No other Olympic competitor was even close to him. He drilled it and knocked it out of the park. He accepted the pressure and then thrived underneath, on top of it. So there's one example of an athlete, a home country, where it just made him come out the best. Where it made another group of athletes where it made him come out the worst was the French women's gymnastics team. They imploded. They were supposed to make the final for the women's all around, but one after another of these French athletes just had a mental breakdown. Bad negative energy, bad group energy, bad coaching energy. All the aspects made it turn out to be, hey, they couldn't possibly succeed. And sure enough, they did not. And it's a lesson in group dynamics. The French women's gymnastics team, by themselves, they failed. And as a team, they failed. It's a bad group energy on their part. Unfortunate.
Hey, Gordon, speaking of swimming, what about swimming in the Seine River? That's been an issue. And I know that you have some thoughts on it.
I think it was an unbelievably great idea to try to get the triathlon in the Seine, the river that runs straight through the middle of Paris. Well, unfortunately, the Seine has been the city's sewer for centuries, and to try and clean it up has been a monumental thing. The mayor has already swum. The mayor of France has already taken a dip in the Seine, but the E. coli levels are still too elevated. And they've had to eliminate practice rounds for the triathlon for a couple days now. So we don't know if the triathlon is going to be able to be in the Seine or not, or if the marathon swim, which is a 10-kilometer continuous swim, is going to be in the Seine or not. They're going to go right up to race time. They have an alternative venue for that. So my guess is the Seine is not going to be clean enough to be competitive worthy. So that's unfortunate. So but a great idea, and we'll go right up to race time to find out.
What else did you watch? I did find myself watching the U.S. basketball team.
I did too. Did you notice when Kevin Durant came in, what happened?
It turned the game. I mean,
it totally turned the game around. And he is a 4-time Olympian. He's 37 years old. He's not a youngster. So for him to be one guy and to turn this game around, he lit a fire under the rest of those guys. The women's team also had the same kind of dynamic and a great leader that's returning, Diana Taurasi. She's going to turn any kind of negative situation around to a positive. So those great leaders of Kevin Durant and Diana Taurasi, I think it's gold for U.S. Although, it's one of my least favorite things at the Olympic Games is this USA.
I've always disliked that. I mean,
the reason I don't like it, and here's why. We know we're the biggest country in the world with Olympic representation. We're going to have the biggest medal count in the history of the games. Do not rub it in the other country's face. Don't boast and brag and be brash like that. That's exactly what Donald Trump likes. That's not winning with honor. That's not winning with style. That's not winning with class. So I don't like the constant USA barrage, but I am patriotic. I think I love my country. But I also have a feel for this is a competition worldwide with over 200 international participants.
One of the things I used to look forward to, I used to root for Cuba a lot, as we've talked about, and they were pretty formidable in track and field at various times, certainly in boxing and in baseball. There's no more baseball, no more softball, but there is breakdancing. What's your take on all that?
Breakdancing is an American sport invented in the streets of Brooklyn, and where street artists
the Bronx, I think.
Okay, yeah. The Bronx. Hey, New York, it's all the same, whatever. All the 5 boroughs are exactly alike. Yeah. So, it was invented in the U.S., and it's an American event. I don't think an American's going to win. I think that there's going to be some hotshots from France or some hotshots with an Arabic background that are really going to light up the world. So I think it's interesting. I don't know how you judge it, other than it's like a style vote, just like gymnastics is a style vote. But you can tell in gymnastics when someone's done something wrong or right. This breakdancing, it's hard to tell if someone's done something by design or just mistake.
Well, what I found interesting is that while they got rid of baseball, they brought in breakdancing, probably some other things, but there is not going to be breakdancing at the LA Olympics in 28, is what I read.
Well, it's going to be up to the host, to LA, to see what they're going to bring in as a new sport and continue on. So that they can bring in, I think, up to 2 or 3 new sports for every Olympic Games, the host can. So the new ones this year are breaking and skateboarding. Skateboarding and breaking are 2 very popular sports with the youth of the world. So, hey, let's keep them going.
So, Gordon, you're a long time. Your whole life has been about sports and coaching, participating, etc. And I know from having spent a lot of time riding around the country with you in your car, where I take pictures and you drive.
I love that, by the way. And let's do it again, man. Where are we going to go?
I can't wait. I got all kind of places we should visit. But as a student of the Olympics, and you've already talked about the barefoot Ethiopian marathon fellow, I wondered if that's your favorite all-time Olympic event or actual race or competition, or if you have others that have really stood out in your lifelong study of the Olympics. And I just point out your sister missed the Olympics by one position, as I recall.
2 positions. She was 5th at the Olympic trials in Montreal for Montreal games in 76. In the 100-meter hurdles, and she's still the best athlete in our family by far to this day. Yeah, I've always loved. To me, is what the mile, the 1,500 meters has been a special. The 100 meters has always been special. Who's the fastest man on the planet? And I think we're going to have 2 really good races this year. The 1,500 meters for both men and women is up for grabs. Nobody can predict who the winner's going to be. There's a couple hot shots in there, but they're wide open. And the 100 meters for men may not be wide open. That we all think that Noah Lyles is going to win the 100 and the 200, but he's got to go through rounds, and he's got to go through that pressure and be able to execute at the right time and at the right moment, at the right location. So it's all about being hot in that particular point in space and time.
Well, Gordon Thomson, we're going to run out of time, so I'm going to ask you to maybe give us a little treat about or advance about what we should be watching this week. And maybe I'll report on it next week, and probably we'll have you back on talking more Olympics.
I want everybody in Chicago area to look at the Olympic medals, the actual medal itself, because in the center of every Olympic medal is a part of the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower was refurbished and remodeled a couple decades ago. They saved the medal from that refurbishing. And a part of every Olympic medal is a little alloy, a part of the Eiffel Tower in the center of that Olympic medal.
And this year's Olympic medals.
This year's Olympic medals.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty. So what will LA do in 2028 with their Olympic medals? What are they going to do to try to make it something indigenous, something from the local community? Is it going to be burnt firewood with all the fires being raging in California? Is it going to be a piece of redwood that's tinged and singed? I hope not. So good luck to California. Good luck to all the people that are fighting the wildfires in California. Hope with not any loss of life or minimizing and the property damage and so forth. So let's go get it.
Okay, well, you got anything else to add? I mean, that was pretty good finale, but I got another minute I could kill here with you.
Well, I'm always a big fan of the Olympic flame too, and the Olympic flame is taking a different twist this year. It's not
actually a flame.
It's not a flame. It's LED lights, and to make it look like flame, it's water vapor. It was pretty cool of having that balloon take off with the Olympic flame. It took off from the exact same position that the first world balloon around the world in 88 days, that kind of thing, took off in the 1800s. So from that exact same location in Paris. So the French are doing a good job to remember history. The French are doing a good job to bring new games to the present. And let's sit back and kick back and watch all the drama. Some good things are going to happen. Some bad things are going to happen. Let's take a piece and witness it all.
I'm hoping for the best, and I'll be watching probably after we record this show. There was some sports on already. I guess it's on all 24 hours almost now on USA TV and on NBC. And I guess if you pay for it, you get the Peacock too. Okay, Gordon Thomson, you've been good to talk to as always. I like seeing that picture of your grandma behind you. And I'll be talking to you soon. Everybody else, stay tuned. We'll be back with more live from the Heartland. And we're going to hear a little bit of music. And Hal, our engineer, is going to pick it out. So we'll be right back with more live.
See you later, Chicago.
Adios, brother. Welcome back, all you listeners and viewers of the Live from the Heartland show. And this is the continuation of the July 29th recording of the week of August 3rd show. And once again, I'm bringing on our friend of the show, Don Rose, who has been around a lot of political campaigns. And as I said at the outset, we're covering sports today. We did with Gordon Thomson on the Olympics, and now we're going to talk politics with our longtime contributor, Don Rose.
The greatest sport of all is politics.
It certainly is. Anyhow, you were on the show a couple of weeks back with Gordon Thomson. We've been bringing in our pals to talk about these issues of the day. And it was before Kamala Harris seemed to ascend to the nomination and before President Biden decided that he wouldn't run. And I got to say that in the course of a week, there's been such a mood shift, such a display of enthusiasm. And, the events are unfolding rapidly. It's not unlike back in the day when JFK was killed and Martin Luther King was killed and LBJ stepped down. It's going on. It's exciting in a lot of ways and challenging. What's your take on all of this?
Well, from June 27th, which was the date of that horrible debate, or so-called debate, to today has been the most amazing month I can think of. Of course, in the days following the assassinations, things were always going in a direction. But the roller coaster that we were on, from despondency about how badly our president was doing in the debate, and would he get out or would he not get out, to Trump getting shot. Trump going through a very supportive convention that was putting him in the driver's seat for sure. And Joe finally saw the light. I don't know exactly what tripped it, but within a week of his Sunday announcement that he was stepping down and endorsing Kamala Harris, we've seen now the most incredible presidential rollout that I can recall. It might have been something like this when FDR was finally elected over Herbert Hoover, back when I was a little boy. But the rollout has gone so smoothly and so impressively, way beyond anybody's imagination. I mean, within less than a day, she had raised more money in a couple hours than almost anybody in history. She had signed up thousands and thousands of volunteers. She'd picked up delegates, and within 48 hours, she was virtually the nominee. And it just moved along and has moved the numbers, although I have to say, encouraging as it is to see how quickly she has risen in the polls. We've got to wait at least another week before we can really determine whether this is just a sugar rush or it's a real trajectory. But it's just amazing. And people who, last year were considering her a drag on the ticket are suddenly in love with her.
What do you attribute that shift to? I mean, I got to say that I didn't pay much attention to her when she was running for president, the first back in 2020. And and then all along, I was probably one of those people thinking she would be a drag on the ticket. But then when it looked like Biden would step down, there was no way they couldn't deal with her because Black women are one of the strongest part of the Democratic Party, and they wouldn't have gone for that. And I think
there's never any question that she would be the successor if there was a successor.
Yeah, I was the minute it happened. Was at 12:46 Central Daylight Time a week ago, and I just was blissed. I mean, I knew it was. I felt it was coming. But I've been pretty happy. I know that we have a lot ahead of us. I'm wondering, one of the things that you wrote about this week was how they're going to attack her. And one of the things you talked about in your column was the Republicans have developed a new way, or they think they have, an acceptable way to say the N-word, and it's through DEI hire. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's the latest so-called acceptable reminder that she is of the Black persuasion, and it's just another way of shouting, "Here she is." For a while they were able to back a few years when the term for quotas, which was, long abolished, was EEO, equal employment opportunity, was another way of saying, oh, he or she is just an EEO hire, meant to denigrate the person, say that he or she was not deserving of the job. And that's a Black person, remember? They're going to take your job away. And I think that only goes so far. As I noted in my column, even segments of the Republican Party, I believe, including the Speaker of the House, have said, get off of that. It only goes so far. My theory is that the racists are all up there. They know who she is, and there is a limitation. I mean, I'm not saying we are free of all of that by any means, but I think the excuses for using the N-word or whatever the current euphemism might be only goes so far, and they're looking for other things. And now even Trump recognizes this by calling her a radical leftist. And forgetting, of course, that the radical leftists at some point attacked her when she was a county prosecutor.
Yeah.
So she's been through it. She's been through 3 levels of election, and even though she flunked badly trying to run for president the first time, she's made her bones in real elections. County prosecutor, state attorney general, United States senator. That is a defiant response to DEI hire. And if anybody is paying any attention.
To me, this is such an opportunity for America. You and I have been, you've been on this show, and you and I have known each other since probably the late 60s. And we felt like things were moving in a very good direction. We were, we'd had a lot of civil rights. We had the women's movement. We were going forward. And then we get clobbered by this kind of fascist movement, Trump, et cetera. And I just think that, the country seems divided, but I like to think we're still good people. And that she, at a time when the United States is less than 50% white and more than 50%, of mixed race or non-white, this is such an opportunity. And and she seems to have just been, someone fired her up. In some way, she came to life with this. I don't know, I'm kind of rambling on here, but.
Well, she started to rehabilitate herself months ago, maybe as much as a year ago, by grabbing on to becoming the face of the abortion movement. She got away from being associated with the border, which she never should have been assigned to. I mean, I think that was a serious mistake on the part of Biden. She couldn't fix the border any more than he could, or you or I could at this point, without a fully bipartisan revision of the laws. But that's a whole nother issue. When she became the face of the women's health movement, she started to rehabilitate herself. We were not particularly conscious of it while this going from really negative evaluations to very prominent and positive ones. She's more than rehabilitated herself. She's gone ahead and this really successful rollout where 85% of the Democratic Party is united around that and loves her and is excited. She's created an emotional momentum that the kind that candidates pray for. And a few people, there'd be a handful of people who did one another candidate, which was never going to be, or wanted a process to nominate her, because this was, let's face it, it was a coronation. The whole party got together, in the manner of the old days when the bosses made the decisions, but they did it so smoothly and elegantly, and she's liked so well. Suddenly, to the surprise of many of us, I think she's got the most positive launch of anybody since Roosevelt, or maybe Obama, created that kind of push that went way beyond the racial issue. I mean, people were excited that this was a woman who could possibly win. It's a Black woman, the backbone of the party. And she's really in the driver's seat. Now she's got to, as she seems to be working on, refine her campaigning. When she was the vice president campaigning, and she had that wild laugh that so many people either love or hate, it was appropriate as she was in that role, essentially a cheerleader. And now that she's got the responsibility, I think she's got to sober up. She's got a wonderful launching idea about how she's dealt with all kinds of con men and crooks and so on. And so she knows exactly who Donald Trump is. And we have been given the additional gift of the most unpopular vice presidential candidate that I can remember in recent memory. Democrats had to drop a vice presidential candidate in 1972 because at that time, the fact that he had seen a therapist was considered a bad sign. Today, everybody's seen a therapist, so that's no longer a disqualifying matter. So, we have to see as it levels out. As you probably know, 2 or 3 polls have now shown her to be in a virtual dead heat with Trump. There's a poll that shows her a point behind, a point ahead on a national basis, but more importantly, in all of the key battleground states, she is either tied or a point, dead even tie, point behind in one state and a point ahead in another. So that's the most encouraging thing. Now
let me butt in here and ask you. You mentioned the Republicans picking a vice presidential candidate that's taken some heat. I'm wondering what your take is in general on the drama of the vice presidential nominee, both in the Republican Party, who you think it might be in the Democrats, and how much does a VP candidate matter?
Well, a vice presidential candidate makes a difference in some races, and mostly it doesn't. But you try to either balance a ticket with a vice presidential candidate, or gain a state that the person may be popular in. It doesn't always work, but you look back at JFK picked Lyndon Johnson and won Texas, which won him the election. In other cases, it doesn't make any difference. And in some cases, it can be negative. You remember Sarah Palin really cast a total pall over John McCain's victory. Now, I think Barack would have won, but it just added another thing. It was a diversion from the candidate with his goofs. And now you've got this guy making all kinds of ridiculous statements. He's more extreme on abortion than almost anybody in the country. He is dissing childless marriages, cat women, childless cat people, just becoming a diversion, in fact, from Trump. Trump is getting the least attention. All the attention is now on the rise of Kamala and the ridiculousness of J.D. Vance. There is some talk even that he may be trying to drop Trump, pick Nikki Haley or something like that. This is all, the usual campaign gossip. Now,
what's your sense on the Democrats?
On the Democrats, there's a good, strong bench. We could go through everybody. I would eliminate Buttigieg or Bashir, the governor of Kentucky, because he couldn't possibly bring Kentucky. He brings a very good fighting guy, but the more serious candidates are governors like Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, which is obviously the most sought after state. And nobody is going to win the election without winning Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro is looked upon as one of the strongest possible candidates to bring the state. In my opinion, it would be somewhat of a mistake because he is Jewish and he is a very strong Israel supporter. And that holds the possibility of a deep split in the Democrats. That would, the split over Gaza, which she is handling very well and even-handed. But she's got a Jewish husband, and there is that streak of anti-Semitism going around. So I would worry about Josh Shapiro. The governor of North Carolina is a possibility. Roy Cooper, a very strong guy, but that's more of a stretch to win that state. Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, probably isn't necessary because she has sprung into the lead, a strong lead in Minnesota, so we don't have to consider that a dangerous battleground. The candidate, I think, makes the most sense given all of these aspects. I would, of course, live with any of them. They're all fine people. But Mark Kelly, the senator, the twice elected senator from Arizona, which could bring in, 16 electoral votes, that would be the topping on the cake. He is a former astronaut, a former Navy fighter pilot, elected twice in a red state and I should say a purple state. And most importantly, he is the husband of Gabby Giffords, who was seriously wounded, if we all recall, and in an assassination attempt, and still has impairments from that tragic act, horrible thing that happened. So that gives a balance to one of the legs of Trump's campaign is that they're all trying to kill me. Well, he has a good argument for gun control and the sympathy vote. So although he is non-charismatic, I think he could handle things very, very well, and he would absolutely be able to chew up Vance in a vice presidential debate just with his own serious approach. He doesn't have to be a verbal flourisher to deal with that.
Don, do you think? I'm just going to say I'm still rooting for Bashir, but I'm open to any of these candidates. And I'm just wondering, do you think there will be a debate between the orange-haired guy and Kamala Harris?
I would say it's 50-50. I think he's going to find it hard to back out. He's gone both ways at it, currently using the excuse that she's not really the candidate yet. She hasn't been voted in. So I think there's a fair chance, maybe slightly better than 50-50 chance that there will be that debate. And she is very, very good in that situation. If you remember watching her deal with people when they were having Senate investigations, she set some people back on their backsides badly. So the one thing I don't worry about with her is her ability to stand up and fight. She can be the aggressor, and if she is too aggressive, of course they'll say that's a bitchy woman. But it'll be nice to see Trump set back in a way that Joe Biden was never really able to do.
Don, one of the things we've talked about on this show recently, and our producer, sometimes co-host Katie Hogan, has been working on, is Operation Swing State, and bringing people from Chicago and Illinois up to Wisconsin and to Michigan. I know that Indivisible's doing this, Operation Swing State, up here, Kelly Cassidy from the 49th Ward Democrats and Network 49, which is a little bit to the left, I think, of that. And I'm on the steering committee. We're all kind of behind this. I'm wondering what you think the impact of canvassing and working in other states has on the potential for the turnout in Wisconsin and Michigan?
Well, well, I would say, history proves it to be very effective to going out and knocking on doors. And people have noticed, by the way, those who were knocking on doors before the change, found people reluctant to talk, didn't open doors, and they're flinging their doors open now and listening. So all the history we've had with Indivisible and all the other groups, past groups before Indivisible, and the changes that have happened, this is the best thing that could happen. And, wherever they're going, if you'll recall, she signed up 270,000 new door knockers or supporters. And that's just an essential part. I have long advocated, not just working in another state, but I have urged that my many friends who have places in Michigan or Wisconsin or even Indiana to change their voting. We have a plethora of Democrats here, and I've even urged people to go register. And if you're summer places in Wisconsin, make it a permanent vote. But certainly calling, writing postcards, and the ultimate benefit comes, of course, from door knocking.
Well, Don, we want to thank you once again for coming on live from the Heartland, and I'm going to invite you back right now for after the Democratic Convention. I was going to ask you what's going to happen at the Democratic Convention, but I assume it'll be rally the troops to get out there and turn out the vote. But you have a keen eye, and I know you're studying this stuff diligently every day, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon. And
me too.
I want to thank you. I want to thank not only Don Rose and Gordon Thomson, our two guests once again today, two of my favorite people to have on the show. I want to also thank our engineer, Hal James, our co-producers, Tom Clark, Katie Hogan, and Lynn Orman. And I will be back next week with more live from the Heartland. You all do good in the world. The world needs all the good that we do together. And together, we're going to make a big difference in the way this country is going. Over and out. We want to thank you for watching the Live from the Heartland show. New episodes air every Friday beginning at 9 a.m. Central Time. Episodes air each following Thursday on CAN TV, 9 p.m. in Sweet Home Chicago on Channel 21 or streaming everywhere else at cantv.org. Audio episodes go live on WLUW each Saturday, 9 a.m. on the left end of your dial at 88.7 FM or streaming everywhere worldwide at WLUW.org. They're available on Apple and Spotify podcasts by looking up Live from the Heartland on either platform, and are also broadcast on Lumpen Radio each Friday at 9 a.m. on 105.5 FM and streaming at lumpenradio.com. I'm Michael James, and I'm glad to have been your host. Until next time, remember, do good in the world because the world needs all the good that you do, that I do, that we do together. All power to the people. Over and out.
Come to limb. Are you doing the best you can? Tell me, are you doing